Hello and welcome to the program. As the presidential election now heads to a second round, it is critically important that the country implements measures that help protect election integrity. Citizens need to ensure the local voting processes are safe. To talk more about this, we're joined in the studio today by Stanislav Kutsenko. He is the head of the Kyiv Territory's Justice Department. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
So the very first question, what are the main threats that may arise or arose before during the voting process for these elections, and how to ensure this doesn't rise again?
First of all people who are willing to participate in elections, they need to check themselves in state registry of electors, because it is possible to do in online way or physically. So now we have time, we are lacking of time to do it today, to check ourselves in lists, and actually it was the possibility to do it like through website drv.gov.ua. It's state registry on electors, and it was possible through election committees and bodies who are governing the electors registry. So actually we had lines in Ukraine, because this time we had only 1 week. In the first round we had up to 3 months, but actually we had lines and queues near to election committees and bodies who are making that registries. But actually now it is a possibility to decide the issue on be included in registry through court, because it is possible to sue till 18th of April, and still we have some chances. And I want to stress that on 21st there is no possibility to change anything in registry, because they will be physically, registers lists of electors on election commissions. So it will not be any possibility to change on the day of election. So
if voters need to do these administration things, it has to be before the 21st, anyways, in any case scenario.
Yes, I would say before 18th, including 18th of April.
Now, you said there were lines and registration, would you say that's a good sign for the democratic and election process in Ukraine?
Actually, it was a good sign that we had 63% of people who went to elections, and it was quite a good rate, because we know that sometimes people are not interested in elections at all, but now we understand that we have certain interest of our citizens to elections, and hopefully in second round there will be a lot of people who come to election commissions to make their decision. And actually now we have only 2 candidates, so the choice is easier, because I want to remind that in first round we had 39, it's quite a lot, and we have like big democracy in Ukraine now.
Which is a good sign, as you said, for the democratic process. But there are still some challenges. I'm thinking for IDPs, for example, which are still facing challenges to register, to change their address. What and how to ensure that the IDPs, internally displaced person, can vote as any other citizen of Ukraine?
For sure, there are some challenges, but actually we have easier procedure even for IDPs than for regular Ukrainians to make amendments to registry and to change place of vote. Why? Because they make application, but they don't need to add any documents to prove that they need to change place of voting. Because Ukrainians who live on the main territory of Ukraine that is not occupied, they need to show documents, for example, reference from workplace, reference from university, or other documents that confirm and approve that people need to change place of vote. But for IDPs, it was no need to show such documents, and they only needed to fill in application form, and they got, instead of this application, the certificate that they can change place of vote, and it was quite easy and understandable procedure.
Now, for the changing of address of vote, as you said, as of April 15th, over 252,000 Ukrainians used the right to temporarily change their voting location. What about Kyiv? Did it happen? Did the same thing happen in Kyiv? And what are the common problems here when about changing the right to temporarily change your location for vote?
If we talk about Kyiv, we had the same situation as in other regions, but actually here much more people came every day to change, for example, their voting place or check themselves in registry. The commissions should allocate and to serve up to 500 people every day. That's why there were lines. But actually it was a good sign that actually we talked about this, that there is certain interest, and hopefully that we will show our will not through going to streets, but making our choice on presidential elections.
Now, we talked about IDPs, and there's another category of citizens, which are the citizens living on the non-government controlled territories. They're facing problems, which is a long line in checkup and in checkpoints. They're facing problems which basically they have to spend more time outside of the non-government controlled territories. It's a lot of risk. They take a lot of risk, and they invest a lot just basically to vote in Ukraine's government-controlled territory. Are there any structure for these people, maybe closer to the checkpoints, for them to be able to vote as the Ukrainian of the Ukrainian citizens that they are?
So actually, such people, they can choose any commission they want near to border. There is no need to go to Uzhhorod, Lviv, Kyiv even, because they can do this near to the border. And actually the procedure was the same. They needed just to go there and fill in application form. There were some obstacles like getting that certificate on changing of voting place, so it took some time. And for sure, the reason for this that there is a limit of commissions and limit of bodies that run registry, because usually it was local state administrations or executive committees of local councils. For sure, there are estimated employees there, but actually they worked almost in non-stop regime, also on Saturday, Sunday, so all possibilities were made for people to change their voting place and fulfill their voting right.
And is there a way to ensure the security of these people also? Because if they come back to the other side, maybe they're going to face other problems. Is there a way to prevent that any problems happens to them once they voted?
You have right, because they had already some problems after first round, because they were made obstacles to cross the border. And in this case, they need to use regular procedure, is make application to prosecutor's office, to Secret Service office in Kherson, Mykolaiv region, for example, the part of Luhansk and Donetsk region that are not occupied. And in this case, state will represent them and collect such applications to have, let's say, collective suit to European human rights courts, because Ministry of Justice also runs such cases, and we help people to protect their rights.
Yeah, so basically they can vote as any other citizens. Now, any lessons since the first round? The international observers such as OSCE, NMO, and all these organizations found there was no massive and systemic fraud, which is a good sign. How to ensure that the same thing happens for the second round, and what, to conclude this interview, what lessons can the Ukrainian system learn from these presidential elections?
So, firstly, we had good signs from international observers that elections run well. Now we have a lot of observers also registered for second round. I'm sure that it gives the chance to have also fair elections in second round on 21st of April. And secondly, about lessons and my advice to electors. First of all, we need to combine programs of candidates. We don't need to follow to any shows, series on TV, and we need to make our own mind to make conscious election. And second advice, for sure, to develop critical thinking, because we need to always analyze different mass media, because we understand that they are owned by different people who have different political views as well, and we need to make our own decision and not to stick to any propaganda or information field that is filled with different provocations, compromise, and other stuff, but make our own decision.
But in the end, it's also the choice of Ukrainian people to decide. And as you said earlier, that's also the sign that Ukraine is a working democracy in a way.
Quite right.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you in the studio today to talk about elections and the voting process and securing the voting process. That was Stanislav Kutsenko, head of the Kyiv Territory's Justice Department. Thank you for watching UATV and stay tuned for the rest.